Medical school was a long, grueling process, and I want to give you guys four different steps to ensure your success if you're starting this year, and things that I would do differently if I was to redo medical school. So let's go ahead and jump into it. What's up, y'all? My name is Dr. Tochi. I'm a doctor in internal medicine. I finished medical school back in 2021. I was just reflecting on my time in med school and looking back and advising medical students now. There were a couple of things that I would do differently, and I want to share with you guys four different things that I would do differently to ensure that the process could have went smoother. Tip number one. The first tip that I would say is that I would invest in a good question bank early and do as many questions as I can do possible. Now, you're going to be learning a lot of information throughout medical school. A lot of people compare it to drinking water out of a fire hose, and that analogy is pretty accurate. It's not enough for you to just know the information. Yes, you can get really good at just knowing it, just spouting off things here and there, different facts, but do you know how to actually answer questions about those topics in an actual test format? Because that's honestly all that really matters. Can you actually answer a question that you've learned based off a topic that you learned in the hospital setting or in the med school setting? That's the biggest thing that you really need to know. That's going to go for your standardized exams, for your school exam. You need to do as many questions as possible to try to simulate not only doing questions for those particular topics, but also testing it in an actual test environment. A lot of people do questions on like untimed modes and tutoring modes. No. You can't be doing that. What you really need to do is to do questions, not only as many as you can, but to do it in an actual time stress environment. That way you can actually simulate what an exam is going to be like. I made this huge mistake early on in med school, and I had to learn the hard way, and I actually had to delay my step one exam when I first did it. I still passed, but I did have to delay it, and that probably just could have messed up my entire medical school rotations if I didn't catch on earlier and did as many questions as I can do possible. That way I'm actually simulating what's actually happening on the actual exam day. There's plenty of different question banks out there. I would probably recommend Amboss just because I like the interface and I like how it ties the questions to an actual study resource. But there's a whole bunch of different ones out there. If you don't like that one, choose anything that you guys can and do as many questions as you can. More questions, the better, honestly. Tip number two. So I would say that the second tip that you guys really need to follow is to figure out what your study style is and really stay on that and not try to switch up your style too many different times. What I did during medical school was probably not optimal, but I did really test out a lot of different study styles. Ultimately, I just ended up doing my regular study style when I was doing college, and I just felt the need to switch study styles because I saw people using whiteboards, I saw people using Anki, I saw people doing group study. I knew in my heart of hearts that I wasn't a group studier, and I was trying to force myself because I was like, oh, this is the medical school thing to do. No. If you figure out a style that works for you, please, I implore you, stay with that study style unless it fails you. And then you should think about changing it up after the fact if it doesn't fail you at that point. Tip number three. Third tip is really take those breaks real seriously. A huge thing that medical students do is that they often don't really know how to take breaks. And because of that, it leads to a lot of burnout. If you finish an exam, take that break, that 1 day, that 2 day after the exam, and just relax, take a load off, breathe. You're gonna have so much more to do. Please take those moments to try to just rest and recover after a big exam, after a big, OSCE exam, whatever. Because if you just try to push through med school, you're gonna be hit with burnout. You're gonna do worse on exams, and it's really just gonna push you back. And I really feel like it's not gonna be the best experience for you guys if you're just trying to push through burnout. Tip number four. The last tip is really going to be helpful specifically for those of you guys that are applying for the match. This is going to be networking as early and as soon as possible in your medical career. Whether you're shadowing someone, whether you're going to medical conferences, whether someone comes speaks at your school, really just put yourself out there, put your name out there, introduce yourself, and try to build a connection because you never know what those connections are going to do for you later in your medical career. I, during my medical experience, was able to network with a lot of different people. And because of that, I was able to get extra interviews. I was able to have people advocate for me. And that made my whole match experience that much more better. And I was able to match at my number one spot for residents. Networking is really a powerful device. You can't just do everything on your own. The medical community is a very tight-knit community, and people really look out for each other. So if you're able to build those connections, it's going to help you get strong letters of recommendations. It's going to help for you to have people advocate for you when you're trying to go to different places to actually build that resume. Build those connections early and really stay in tune with those connections, and don't be afraid to build your own connections with people coming on after you, because it's a cyclical environment and you really want people to look out for you as well as you would for others. So those are the 4 different things that I would do differently if I were to do medical school all over again this year. Is that I would do as many questions as I could possibly do. I would take those breaks very seriously. I would figure out my study style that works for me and stick with it until it fails. And then I would also take networking very, very seriously. That last one is really going to go a long way for you guys. So if this was something that was very helpful for you, go ahead and leave a like down below, and then leave a comment section down below and what you think has really helped you get through medical school. I will see you guys later. Peace. Dr. Tochi signing out.